Branding 101. Oh. Welcome to our Branding 101 session. I'm super happy to be here today on Valentine's Day, sharing all our branding love with you guys. Of course, thank yous, Heather already mentioned, but thank you so much to the County of Haliburton and to Haliburton County Development Corporation for making these sessions happen, and to all of you for your time and attention today. We're going to present, we'll leave room for a lengthy Q&A at the end, and we also have an exercise sort of partway through that we'll take you all through, so another opportunity to chat with us. And as Heather mentioned, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and then maybe Heather can just, if there's anything, she can monitor that and let us know if there's anything urgent. So the agenda, we're going to talk just a little bit about us quickly, like fast, not a lot, just about the Voima Group and who it is, who we are, what we do. Then we're going to talk about what is marketing briefly. How does branding fit into the picture? What is branding? Why does it matter? And then building on to this session, next Tuesday at 1:30, there's a Branding 201 session, and that will be more specific to your business with more interactive exercises. And you'll actually leave that session with a framework for a brand playbook. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in this session too. So about the Voima Group, we were just founded in last May of 2022. Both Geoff and I are partners in the business. We combined our professional and formal educations to really create a locally focused marketing agency. So while we have global experience, both of us working with brands like MasterCard, Nintendo, Dell, Gibson Guitar, we really wanted to take that expertise because we love Haliburton and we love the area, and really focus on working with local businesses here and just really helping the area blossom even more. So right now we have a variety of clients, everyone from manufacturers to restaurants to adventure companies to nonprofits and more. And what we do for them are everything from all their brand marketing activities, from press releases, media events, social media content creation, website management, all of that. In some cases, we're just focused on one-off project work. So just building a website or doing a brand refresh, and then the client takes it from there. So let's dig into the basics. What is marketing? Marketing, unfortunately, not an easy answer. Marketing is everything. It's every piece of promotion that you do for your company, from events to website creation to public relations, to paid advertising, to unpaid advertising, social media content creation. But at the center of all of this is brand. So obviously that's why we are all here today. So your brand is really the core to everything. You cannot, well, you could, but you should not create an advertisement in a newspaper or create a social media channel or even talk to someone about your product unless you're clear on your brand. Most importantly, your brand is not just your logo. A lot of people say, oh, I revamped my logo, I've totally rebranded. Not the case. Your brand is a combination of, most importantly, your unique offering, first and foremost. What is it that really is at the core of your business? The personality offering, the personality of your business that you're offering. So, not everyone has an actual product that they're looking to sell that they could package with that personality. But, if you were a large contractor, for example, the personality of your brand can come through on, the design on your trucks, the way your staff interacts with your clients, the way your social media is presented. So it doesn't always hinge around product. It can also speak to your service. And you always need to keep in mind that the personality is key to all of that. How you communicate your offering and to whom, we'll dig into that shortly, like more about audience. And branding is about your team and your partners and how they communicate your offering internally and externally. So we have team in bold because that's really key. If your staff that's working with you, or your team, or your freelancers, or even your partners can't clearly communicate what your offering is, why you're cool, why you're unique, then you're in trouble. You need to be able to explain to the people who are dealing with it every day on the ground with you. They need to be able to explain what your brand is at its core, what it is that you do like nobody else. And then the fun part kind of comes last, how you present this offering to the world. And that's the logo, and that's the colors, and that's the tagline, those things that kind of come after you have those foundations of what your brand combination really is. So brand versus marketing. Quite simply, your brand is your identity and your personality of your business. And the marketing piece is around building awareness of that brand in order to sell more products and services. So together, marketing with brand is defined as brand marketing. It's a little bit confusing, but they're definitely sort of, they're church and state, but they overlap for sure. Without a defined brand, you'll struggle with clarity and you'll have a difficult time creating a strategic marketing plan and therefore finding a loyal audience to try and to buy your products and services. So, for example, we've had experiences where clients come to us and said, how should we spend money and where? We know we need to do some ads. And we were like, okay, well, let's sit back and talk about, what are your goals? Who are you looking to reach? And it often ends up being a strategic marketing plan that's created that is sort of on the back of the brand they've already created. But, you definitely just can't go out there and start creating that messaging without it looping back to your goals and your strategic plans. So why does brand matter? Studies have shown time and time again that consumers purchase from a brand that they recognize over something more generic, even when those products are the exact same. And even if the price of that is less for the generic product, you're still going to go for the brand that they know and have had good experiences with. It's also based on, when we talk about experience, it even digs into like memories that product evokes and like past purchases. So when you look at, say, Apple, I'm an Apple person. The fact that I even call myself an Apple person, the company's done a good job at branding, right? So they focused when they first came to market on being something unique, something very user-friendly, very clean, very sleek, easy to operate. And so they, went on developing a great product, consistent messaging, consistent look and feel, when it's an Apple ad without even seeing the logo. And the fact that, yes, they have brand advocates all over the place saying, I'm an Apple person, I'd never own an Android, speaks to the work that they've done over, decades. Same with Nike. People may purchase Nike because they just always have. They had them in high school, they wore them in gym, they won some track meets in them. So that's that memory and the experience with Nike. But again, you're kind of identifying yourself when you look at the ads and the promotions that Nike does, the just do it, the motivational stuff. They're really doing a lot of stuff now with self-guided meditation, like they're going all down that route. So they're really trying to make the product connect to you as a person versus just a cool pair of shoes. We see this everywhere in the food and beverage industry. We see it with accessories. You can go to a big box store and you can buy a $50 handbag that's would last you probably 5-10 years. But then why do people go and buy, an $800 Michael Kors bag that will do basically the same thing? And it's because, they either want the brand name or, they've seen so many ads for it that brand is starting to resonate with them, with their friends. An automotive example. I just watched a review on a Hyundai versus a BMW. They were the exact same engine. It was actually an electric vehicle. The Hyundai actually compared better with every auto reviewer than the BMW did in terms of value and just overall power of the car. But almost no consumer, even having watched this when they market tested it, wanted the Hyundai. They all wanted the BMW. And so that's a bit of, it's that brand. People have heard about the brand, they trust the brand, and maybe even trust BMW as more of a leader in the electric space than Hyundai at this point, just based on experience. Coffee shops too is another example of why brand matters. Starbucks versus Timmy's. I guess probably most of us are Timmy's fans because that's what we have in Halloran County. But why do you choose one coffee shop over another? Why do you choose? Is it all about taste? Some people say, it's not. It's really just about that brand, that experience you have in store. You go to Starbucks, they write your name on the cup. Sometimes it's wrong, which is funny, but you're getting that more hands-on experience, I think, when you're in a Starbucks, for example. I'm going to digress a little bit here. I literally made this note for myself so I wouldn't forget. But what really I think should resonate with us as a community as well, you know, being in the Haliburton region and a small community, and if some of you are in Kawartha Lakes or where you're located, you need to know that local competition is good. So while you should be working on your brand and why it matters and differentiators, being with like businesses is extremely fortuitous. Is that a word? Fortuitous is what I'm looking for. Because, you know, kind of that whole all ships rise sentiment. So, you know, there's been studies going back to the 1920s that, you know, banks that are together all perform well together. That's why you'll go to like an auto mall and all the dealers are in a row because they all perform better when they're there. It's the same reason when you go on a holiday and there's, you know, 20 restaurants on a street and the whole street's booming. So while yes, you want to have a unique offering in each of those restaurants, you'll see that that'll perform much better than a restaurant that's on a main street by itself with no one around it. So something to keep in mind when you're talking about branding, it's not about competing or being worried about local competition. It's about defining your brand and also working with like businesses as well. There's a reason why you go to downtown Toronto and you're on a corner and there's four different banks all in that same corner. Like that's definitely a part of the bigger plan. On the note of banks, though, we did want to show you a couple of different ways that they are approaching different audiences and different targets, just so you can understand a little bit more about how they're targeting different brands. So let me try to pull this up now. Bear with me. Sorry, guys. Do share screen. Okay, so I'm gonna play this. It might be a little jumpy. I apologize, but this is an ad from TD, just to show, and we're gonna talk about it after you guys see it.
You invest? Huh. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Learn. Buy.
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 汇率，
汇率。汇。
Sell.
Sell. Buy.
Buy. Buy.
Sell. 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 Buy. 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 Sell. 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 Buy. Sell.
Dude, as a first-time investor, I just used TD Easy Trade. It's simple. Look.
Did that play for everyone for the most part? Oh, everybody know.
Yeah, it was all right. A little choppy.
Oh,
but pretty good. Yeah.
Something else is playing here. So the point of that we wanted to show you was just that, you know, TD and that is going after obviously first-time investors, younger audience. They're trying to show how it could be really overwhelming, but it's super simple because, you know, they're just, you know, saying, you know, hey, she's like, dude, check it out, like very casual. But what you'll notice that's interesting about that ad is they still have TD branded assets around it. So even in the coffee shop, they're sitting in the TD green chairs that we always see, that same color. At the end, they show the chair again that everyone sort of associates with TD and the green. So, you know, it's just interesting to see the audience that they're going after. And I'm going to show you another bank commercial. Hopefully this one plays well too. Sorry, guys, bear with me. This is a Scotiabank ad. And I'll do screen share again. Okay, it should work.
Introducing Advice Plus, a new way to create a plan together that keeps you heading in the right direction. We start by to know you better. Then we'll work together to build a plan that grows with you, adding personalized products and solutions along the way that can help you reach your goals tomorrow. We get to know you better to guide you better. Today and tomorrow. Advice Plus, only from Scotiabank.
Okay, so now that commercial, obviously Scotiabank and TD have a lot of the same services, probably all of the same services, but Scotiabank in that one you can see is trying to appeal to families, and it's people who already have homes and are looking for some fun. So now they're like talking about, you know, RVing, cottaging, they're getting into that different kind of market. So we just wanted to show you the difference there with those two types of ads, to just paint the picture a little bit more. And then in terms of sort of like pulling on the heartstrings, Scotiabank took it a little bit further. And we just want to show you this one. With their Hockey for All ad. Let's see if I can share this one. So this speaks to branding becoming to that seeking that emotional connection. So it's like, yes, we just watched the Scotiabank ad. Now we know that they do loans for different things. But you know, this is now about emotional connection, and we will show you what they've done here. Okay. Alrighty. So that example was just about, you know, like I said, it's very little about banking, but it's about connecting with Canadians specifically and connecting with different audiences to sort of start thinking, building more of that emotional connection. And that's what really makes a brand successful. Go back here, I'll go to screen share again. Sorry guys, it's hard to jump around and okay. All right, hopefully that is full screen again. So, you know, also to note when I talked about, you know, the difference between, you know, handbags and BMW and all that, it's not always about status. It really is just about how an affinity to a brand makes the consumer feel, always. Whether that's there is a bit of status to driving a BMW, or you're so emotionally connected to Scotiabank now after seeing all the stuff they're doing to support hockey. That's building that affinity to a brand that really makes the consumer want to be there and want to shop there and be part of that product. So let's we can talk about, you know, maybe the audiences a little bit, like what resonated more with you guys. You know, we talked about the hockey ad pulling at the heartstrings, associating obviously the brand with something Canadians are passionate about, hockey. It's all part of their strategic brand marketing plan. But does anyone have any thoughts about just those ads, how they were different, if they made you feel any way? And if there's nobody who has any thoughts, no worries, we can carry on. Doesn't look like anyone has any thoughts. We're gonna move on. All right.
Just to say, if you do at a later point in the presentation, just feel free to pop stuff in the chat.
So brand development, you may watch those commercials and think, okay, but how is this relevant to me? These are banks, they have, you know, how can I even compete with those? You know, they have millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars in some cases. You know, I'm not able to develop my brand on any level, maybe even due to, you know, fill in the blank, lack of time, lack of money, lack of clarity. So, you know, we're talking about how to get attention without a lot of dough, we called it. So just get your brand out there, whether, you know, get it in the local news, sponsor some local events, volunteer for local organizations, work with strategic partners. You know, you could be at, you know, involved in a Haliburton Huskies game. You could be involved with a local food bank. There's lots of things you can do to get your name and your brand out there, and for people just to start seeing it in relatively inexpensive ways. And they'll start thinking of you over time as well. And the really thing to keep in mind is you will not be successful and you will not last if you haven't defined your brand. And if you're not comfortable with your brand, you need to be able to sort of simply answer some questions, be able to communicate those questions or those answers to your consumer and to your staff. And that's why the brand playbook that will help develop at the 201 session will sort of give you some of those tools if you don't have them already. But in the meantime, we are going to do a mini exercise today, which Geoff's going to lead, and just about, warm us up for next week, train us for next week, get some of your creative juices flowing around your brand. Now, you don't have to share these answers, so feel free just to keep them to yourself. We might see if one of you wants to volunteer some answers, but feel free to keep them to yourself as Geoff takes you through the exercise.
All right, so yeah, if you have a pen and paper around or on your phone even, you can write down some answers here. So first question, describe your product or service in one sentence.
And you can think of this too as if it might be easier to think of like if just a friend was asking you, what is it you do? What is it you sell? How would you tell them in one sentence? I don't know how much more time everybody needs. We'll give it another 10 seconds maybe. Okay. Alrighty.
Okay. Choose just 3 words that define how your product or service is unique or stands out. If you don't have 3 products that you can pick, it could be the team that you work with is unbelievable. So that's one of the things that stands out. Anything. That your location could be beautiful. You could have a great space. That could be one. Another question, who is your core audience now? Could be age, demographic, location. Is it the same audience now you'd like to have in the future? If not, who are those folks?
Might give you guys a little more time for this one because you either already have your ideal audience and you can describe them, or, should you be moving toward a different audience? Oh, gold star for Heather. She's putting her answers in the box. Thanks in the chat. All right, let's move to the next slide.
Think about how you speak to your core audience. What's your tone and where? Tone, do you have a fun or serious tone? Do you laugh a lot? You want to just talk about the product and also informative. Where do you go on Facebook, Instagram, the radio, signage? Where are you putting yourself out there?
The last piece.
Does your current logo, brand, colors, taglines, if you have one, represent the answers to your questions? Does it all align?
So in thinking this through, you know, when you look at your logo, when you look at, you know, maybe your social media activity, or you look at your website, you know, does it align with those audience goals? Does it align with, you know, those 3 key things that you've said that are great about you? Are those listed somewhere? Like, are they repeated somewhere? Can someone go to your website and see the 3 things that are great about your product? Is that sort of front and center? So these are things to keep in mind as you go through this process. Heather, you'd been sharing yours in the chat, but I don't know if there's anyone else who's willing to share maybe just general thoughts even on where, as you've gone through this and you think about your logo and your brand overall, are you like, oh, that's actually out of a line, or I haven't been speaking to this? And there's someone who's willing to share their thought through the little exercise, that'd be great. Oh, Leanne says her tone is encouraging, informative, fun. You can find her on social media, newspapers, flyers, grocery stores. Wow. You're everywhere, Leanne. See, HCDC, some good answers there from Heather, just talking about, obviously, you know your audience really well.
Just maybe a comment, and that might get people thinking. I know we've talked here at HCDC, so our product is kind of a serious product because it's about supporting business, and it's about sometimes providing financing, but providing advice and that sort of thing. And it's also tends to be a very confidential service that people are looking for. And yet we're a pretty fun group of people. So, so one of the things I struggle with is sort of when people get through the door, then they go, oh, you're not intimidating. You guys are all really fun and nice. But getting people to the door is a different, and yet we don't want to have sort of this carefree woohoo kind of image. So it's a bit of a challenge, like for our business. I don't know if anyone else sort of has that similar type of conflict, or if you can talk a little bit about that, how to balance those things.
I might speak up a little bit. So I'm Carly with Wolf Flow Sup Yoga, and I find, because I'm paddleboarding and yoga, like yoga has its own, I don't know, everyone has their own opinion on yoga in the world, right? And it kind of has this kind of uppity, it depends on it can fit into so many different categories. And so because I'm yoga, but I'm also like nature and adventure and trying new things and fun. And so I find, like, with my content, I'm always like, you know, everyone you see posting about yoga is very like yoga, meditation, how to become centered, doing all these extreme yoga poses. So I kind of get, I don't know, almost caught up in which route to go. I'm like, oh, I don't find myself to be very motivational. And when I try to go that route, it just doesn't seem right to me. But then I feel like I'm not representing the yoga portion enough. So I definitely battle with that kind of dynamic there.
Well, I think you said something really smart there, Carly, which really is key to all of branding is, you know, if it doesn't feel right in your gut or it feels odd, then you're not being authentic to yourself. And because, you know, you are your brand and you're building this business, you know, authenticity is key, and people will see through it as well, right? So if you're trying to be all motivational, but it's not really you, that could come across as like, oh, there's Carly with another like motivational quote. Like, you know, you want to be authentic. And so you want, I think, you know, being able to, once you've defined your audience, which I'm sure you've done, but they're, you know, you find out that they're, I don't know, in their mid-20s and looking for something different, and they don't want that uppity experience, then like that's your tribe and that's who you go for and that's who you speak to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also the brand like playbook that we keep talking about, we keep teasing out, would help you as well, because what happens at the end of the brand playbook is they'll be defining questions that just are tailored to your business, sort of 5 to 7 questions usually we build out. And it's when you're making a business decision or you're making a change, those 5 or 7 questions don't change, but they're like kind of your gut check questions. So when you read through them, it'll say, is this in line with this? Does this reach, X audience, blah, blah, blah. And if the answer is no, then you don't make that business move, or you consider not making that. So it's a little bit of a gauge at the end of your brand playbook that helps as well. Anyone else have any feedback on just anything they sort of discovered or thought through that little process?
Hi, I'm Ben and Dykstra with Rolling Dragon Media, and I'm operating a podcast called the Sit Down Standout Show. I think one thing that we also have to remember throughout this process is, regardless of whether you're operating a podcast or a yoga brand, you have to remember that everything is subjective as well, because people can check you out. Like, look at your website, look at your branding, and then they might just say, oh, not for me, and move on. So you might get X number of clicks, but you can't take the number of clicks or the number of times someone looks at you entirely at face value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's why it's important too, to be in a few different places, a few different touch points. So someone can say, okay, well, Sup Yoga was really great. I saw they were like volunteering at the local food bank, or I saw that they did some donations for that. And, or maybe there's a feature in the local paper, or maybe they see you through your website. So I think that's why it's important to try to create also as many touch points. So someone doesn't go, well, I don't know if this is for me or not. They're able to check you out. But also fair point that sometimes you're not going to have something for everyone, and that's fine. You just have to find that tribe and build on it. Any other comments before we move on? Nope. Alrighty. So what now? We have a lot of people ask us, what is the difference between a new brand, a rebrand, a brand refresh? So we thought we'd just share a couple of client examples because we do have the time. And based on your independent exercise that you did, you might be able to, if you struggled answering some of those questions, it might be time for like a brand refresh, or maybe a rebrand, or a whole new brand, which is a big undertaking. You have to be pretty lost to do a whole new brand. But really, the point of it is it's just time to review your brand health. So if you struggled answering some of those questions, then your brand might not be as healthy as it should be, and maybe it just needs some tweaking. So in terms of a whole new rebrand, we just thought we'd show a couple of websites, our whole new brand. Sorry, let me go stop sharing here. Bear with us, guys. So a new brand that we just launched was Eagle View, and Eagle View is actually located at Sir Sam's Ski Hill. Everybody see this website hopefully here? And so rather than just create, Sir Sam's on the Hill Wedding Center, they ended up creating a whole new brand. So it's Eagle View Wedding and Event Center. So, we went through them from everything on who did they want to attract to the center. Weddings are obviously key to that. What types of visual did they want? What's their aesthetic? So we worked through that whole from scratch, ground up brand development, which we love to do. Not everybody needs to do, but in this case, they did need to do that. And then you can see in their Instagram, hopefully this is coming up for you guys, that the aesthetic that was created also sort of flows throughout their imagery. It's still got that same coloration, that same look and feel. So whether you're on their website or you're looking at their Instagram or any other way to interact with them, they've got similar colors, similar vibe. The tone that they're talking to people is very consistent. The other example we wanted to show you was just a rebrand. So this was, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Chalk Woodworking. He's located in Minden, and basically Trevor Chalk has through the years evolved a lot. So it was, Chalk Woodworking, and then he had Chalk Design Studio, and gone from really high-end custom kitchens to, looking at becoming more of a manufacturer. And he really wanted to hone in on manufacturing, customer service first. So when we rebranded Trevor, we created really consumer first website that speaks to service first, which is what they pride themselves on. They're really good at. We rebranded Chalk and dropped the woodworking, the design studio. It's just Chalk now. And really the first page talks about the service you get there, and it talks about the Chalk difference, those three things that separate them as a brand locally, what you can expect. And then just a really simple website, focused on products, some inspiration, reviews are key, and contact. So, it just ended up taking the confusion out of what the brand is. Is he a kitchen designer? Is he a kitchen builder? He's a cabinet manufacturer. And if you come to the site for the first time, it's very clear that is what he does. So when doing the brand process with Trevor Chalk, we realized he didn't need to do a full new brand from scratch. He just needed to do a rebrand, a refresh. And then, sometimes you may just need to do, a tweak, which would also be considered just a refresh. So maybe, your colors aren't really your vibe, or you did a tagline when you launched that you don't love, and you can look at maybe tweaking that. So there's kind of the big three things you can look at doing. And through, a brand process and developing this brand playbook next week, I think you'll be able to discover if you need to do any of these things. Hopefully most of you guys are just on the brand refresh / tweak side of things, because it's much easier. But that's what I have to say about that. I'm going to go back to screen share here. There we go. So what does success look like? So you've gone through this process. You've either tweaked your current brand, or you've done a rebrand like Trevor did, or you did a full new brand launch like Eagle View. At the end of the day, how do you know you're successful? It's not just all about clicks and likes. It's about, general awareness, people knowing about your brand. It's about new and potential customers reaching out to you. So like seeing your story and wanting to even just ask questions. Maybe they're not buying product, but maybe they're reaching out to you and they have some questions. And hearing people talk, that's an easy one where we live. We were stand in the grocery store line and you'll hear something about, local business, or even like ourselves, we've overheard conversations, kind of funny. But when that is success, because when people are talking about you, even sometimes if it is a bit negative, it's at least they're talking. And of course, engagement with your marketing is success as well. So people are, not a matter of how many people are seeing your posts, but how many people are liking them, sharing them, commenting on them. How many people are, hearing a radio ad that then triggers them to go direct to purchase something from you, or to send you an email, or take some sort of action. So that's really what success looks like with your brand. And I think, true success really is when someone has such a brand affinity with you that they would, not consider taking a yoga class with someone else, or they wouldn't consider, listening. They could listen to 3 podcasts, but that they choose yours, or, they're not changing radio station away from Canoe FM. So once they've tried it and have that affinity, that's what you need to keep reinforcing. And of course, the biggest win ever is when your fans then become your advocates. So the ultimate goal is when your customers become fans, who then become your advocates. That works really to make a lot less work for you, right? Leveraging that word of mouth and advocacy is so key. So using, leveraging that throughout your social media. If somebody has a great picture because they've had a fun experience, on your ski hill or at your restaurant, reshare that, tag them, thank them, have a little bit of comments back and forth with them that people can see. Be funny. And, offer, create some shareable assets from reviews. So, one of our clients had a bunch of reviews that lived on like this other website that nobody knew about. So we took those reviews and put them on their social media front and center so that everyone can see that record of success that they've had. And if you're not having a lot of sharing or success with social and reviews just yet, offer some incentives or contests for those who do share. Have you had a great picture of us this summer, or would you love to be here this summer? Hashtag us, and you start working on building that advocacy and start building those conversations with potential customers. If you work at this stuff consistently, I know it's all time, but it will result in sales and success. And those who do it well are seeing the sales and the success. So unfortunately, you can't just create a jazzy logo and wash your hands of it. You must develop sort of a strategic brand marketing plan that has your logo, all your brand assets in front of, and has all of those assets in front of your target audience as often as you can have them. And when I say strategic brand marketing plan, that sounds scary. Like it sounds like a 40-page like Bible document, but you really don't need that. You just need either a brand playbook that will work through, that's like an 8 to 10 pager, or even just a 1-pager that tells yourself that, is a summary of the questions we went through today, just as a bit of a compass, like where's your true north as you start working through your brand. And yeah, I'm going to give a Coke example here, Coca-Cola. So, in terms of some people think, well, why do I need to do, I guess one of the questions we hear most often, sorry, I'm digressing, but is I'm already successful. I can't keep up with the busyness. I don't need marketing. I don't need to maintain my social media. But yes, the answer is you do. Because, so Coca-Cola in the 80s, I'm sure most of you are aware, was in a battle with Pepsi. They did the taste test. They did this whole thing for like several years. Coke ended up with 80% of the market share, I think by the early 90s. And just decided they were like, we're number one. Everybody knows about us. We can't lose. So they just stopped advertising. 6 months, no advertising, no Coke, nothing. They ended up in 6 months with like 10 to 15% of market share. Just bam. People were, the other soft drinkers came in with their ads and their promotions, and Coke obviously just wasn't top of mind for people anymore. So just an example of, even when you're at the top, keep sharing reviews, keep engaging with your audience, keep using as many channels as you can to stay front and center. Even if you're, the busiest restaurant in the world, take a Friday night to give a percentage of that to a local charity. There's ways to keep engaged and ways to tell stories that I think can also be in line with also how busy you are. You can manage all of that. So next week, we're going to take you through the early stages of creating a brand playbook. It'll be more specific to your business. So it'll be sort of building on Geoff's exercise, but give you some more meat and potatoes there. We'll share some more examples. We're going to dig up some more examples of some branding that we love and some successes and some failures. You can register with Heather if you haven't already for that one next Tuesday at 1:30, I believe. As Heather mentioned, on the 28th, you can also chat with us in person, and all of the workshop hosts and participants are invited from 5 to 7 p.m. at Castle Antiques. You can contact us anytime, text or call. Who calls? Please text. I mean, really. And send us emails. We're totally happy to chat with any of you. But on that note, we are now to question period. And I know it's very sort of top level today, but there's just so much to say. And with, everyone potentially at different levels, this is kind of the 101. So happy to take some questions and go from there.
So feel free to unmute or pop questions in the chat if you have anything burning that you wanted to ask. I'm curious, just locally, is there an example of a brand that that locally you think is doing really well?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. We have several local clients, so I'm going to try not to pick one of them because that would just be unfair. But I think there's a lot of different local brands who do things well in different ways. So I think Luke's Brew is one who's got like a really neat tone and is available, his kombuchas in a lot of different local stores. I think Abbey Gardens does a great job at event promotion specifically, and like creating really unique fun events, which is a real differentiator for them. Who else locally? I mean, Bosch Kong Beer has done an incredible job of not only promoting themselves, but doing great partnerships with, creating custom beers for other restaurants and Trust Food Works. We love Trust Food Works. Not a client, but does a fantastic job at his brand consistency through everything that they do. Is the same color, the vibe, the tone is really fun. He knows his audience. They're expanding all like 3 different locations. So yeah, Trust Food Works is a good one too.
So that's one question that I see here from Ashley. When you have a logo and have started your brand, you really have to stick with the same colors for everything social media related and website related.
No, you don't. I mean, it's advisable that you kind of don't go like way off mark with your colors, but you can create, in your brand playbook, say you could have, maybe your logo has 2 colors, but you have, complementary colors, and there's 4 or 5 different colors that you work into, your overall messaging. I think it's important with social media to have some sort of templated appearance, but not that every message is templated, because that'll get a little bit much, a little monotonous. But I think just to have that look and feel, a bit of consistency with color, I think is important. And that's how people start recognizing that brand over and over again as well, right? Is those colors help to, I guess, identify you. Yeah.
Great. Well, you've done a good teaser for next week. I will send out the video from today's presentation, and I'll also include the link for next week, because these are kind of a 2-part. So if you're interested in the kind of, did you call it 201 or 102? I can't remember.
201, I think. Yeah.
201. Okay. Then you'll be on that list already. And then if you have the time to come at 1:30 to 2:30 next Tuesday, you're welcome to do that. And then again, just to another reminder, the 28th is an opportunity to meet in person, have a little bit of one-on-one follow-up time, and go from there. So if there aren't any other questions, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Geoff, from the Voima Group, for spending your time with us today, and we look forward to next week.
Yeah, and truly, if anyone has any questions and follow-up, we love to talk about branding. So yeah, give us a call, shoot us an email. We're happy to dig into some specifics for you if you like.
Great. Okay, cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.